Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here, taking a look at your tropical update for September. What is it? September 10th. What day is it? September 10th of 2019. Brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters. Big thanks to them for helping us out with this, so we can get it to you. Maybe I'll have another cup of coffee. Who knows? All right, let's take a look at what's happening in the tropics right now into the Gulf of Mexico. We do have a little bit of thunderstorm activity down toward the Bay of Campeche. This was actually shown up on the models. You may remember this. Kind of in the middle of last week, we thought, well, yeah, down in the Bay of Campeche, maybe a little bit of something, but it probably won't amount to much if we get anything. So far, that's holding true here about 5-6 days later. Just out to the west of the Bahamas, so let's kind of zoom this and pivot back. This little wave out here, you guys may also remember this from last week. This is the thing that was out about over here, and I said, well, we may get a little bit of extra juice from what's left over of what became Invest 92L. As it fell kind of apart, we were going to end up with a little bit of extra coming in to, and this one was the unnamed one. Remember, we had 94, 92, and 91 out here or something like that. This one's actually starting to get a little better organized as it moves toward the Bahamas. We may actually have to deal with this one along the Gulf Coast as we head through next week. Back in behind that, we still have 94L back here, which is still floating around, and then we've got another wave coming off the coast of Africa. But first things first, so let's take a dance around the Atlantic Ocean. A 10 to 30% chance of development as we head through the next 5 days with the little wave that's out here, and you can see where it's circled into the Gulf of Mexico. And I know this is going to put a lot of folks on edge from Corpus Christi all the way back over toward Panama City Beach. And I understand your level of anxiety with this. I do have some good news to pass along. Not a lot, but some. Is that 30% chance over the next 5 days, not great. It's going to interact with not only the Bahamas, but also probably with Florida, perhaps even parts of Cuba. That's good news. The other piece of good news is it's actually, once it starts moving, it's going to be moving pretty quick. So we're talking about getting from somewhere around Miami to into the Gulf of Mexico to overland in about 48 to 72 hours. So it's not going to have a lot of time to sit into the Gulf of Mexico and spin around and gain strength or gain organization or anything like that. The other piece of good news, I suppose, is that wherever it goes as a wave or a disturbance, perhaps even a tropical depression at this point, can't, I suppose, rule that out with that 10 to 30% chance, is it will bring temperatures down for you folks that are just baking across parts of East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and parts of Florida. So that's that one. The next one out here is, again, I'm pretty sure 94L with a 20% chance of development. It's still floating around out here, although it's pulled up nearly stationary. And as we'll see on the European modeling here coming up in a hot second, it's not really in any hurry at all, which is very strange for these easterly waves coming off the African coast. Generally, they're moving at somewhere between 5 to 15 miles an hour out here. This one's doing about 2 to 4. And then we've got another wave, and here's an example of that. A wave coming off the African coast, anticipated to be all the way over here in the next couple of days with a 20% chance of development through 5 days. That one moving, again, about 15 miles an hour. It's pretty normal. This one, not really moving. So we're going to have to watch and see what happens as this one drifts over the next 5 days. Does it get close enough to this one to do something to it, to change its trajectory, maybe nudge it along? We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, this one with a 20% chance of development as we head through the next couple of days. And we got wave and wave and wave back here as well. The MJO is flipping around the globe too, and that's probably going to give us a slight boost as we head through the next 2 weeks in terms of the overall potential for tropical development. But again, the MJO coming and the correct phase, I should say, of the MJO setting up for us does not mean that tropical development is imminent. It just means that things are going to be the background noise is going to be a little more favorable. Okay, so let's head over to the 700 millibar moisture 850 vorticity map like I always say. If you're grayed out, that's the 700 millibar moisture, where we're good and dry in the mid-levels. It's tough to get any development where it's too dry. And then we start to look for low-level vorticity. There's the one wave near the Bahamas. There's 94L out here, and then there's the wave back in behind it there. Also of note is the little piece of riffraff that's happening in the Bay of Campeche is sort of shown up on here, but not really as we head through the next couple of days. Okay, so through Thursday, here we go. There's the little wave that's out here. You can see in the European model, it does get a little better organized, but for the most part, again, we're not talking about, you may remember seeing Dorian on there, and it was this big circle of red. We don't have some huge circle of red in here. We're only getting into the oranges. Invest 94 is back here, and the little wave that's back in behind it. Notice, I mean, we do end up with maybe a little red circle, but again, you can compare this to what Dorian looked like, and it was something like that. And so we're talking about enough of a defined area of low pressure in here that maybe you've got a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm. We'll have to wait and see. Again, intensity forecasts on things that haven't even circled up yet, so to speak. You're blindfolded and throwing a dart against a dartboard. Maybe not that bad, but pretty close most days. So we're going to have to keep tabs on this. This is all the way through Sunday morning. So for the weekend, we're going to have to wait and see about how much this is going to impact the weekend, again, from Corpus Christi all the way back to Panama City Beach, because it could mean some extra rain for folks that maybe want to get down to the beach. Again, this thing's a quick mover. By Tuesday, it's into Arkansas. The one that's back in behind it, 94L, gets a little better organized as it gets into the Caribbean. As the Caribbean, remember that dry air at the start of this thing that was all over the Caribbean is gone. Now back in behind that, you've got another wave, and then more dry air builds in back in behind that. Though, I don't think that'll keep the tropics quiet for very long, given the fact that well, it's the peak of hurricane season on September 10th. So there's a look at your tropical update brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters for September 10th. Again, the peak of hurricane season 2019.